over to Coach and start with some opening comments.
All right, just a couple injury things because I know you guys will ask, and this will help me be more organized. But guys who will miss spring ball, Tristan Alvano will be limited. Demetrius Bell will miss spring ball. David Borchers back at some point, but not initially. Jameer Khan, Connor Keneally, Turner Corcoran, Jalen George, Gunnar Gatula, Roger Gradney, Sua Lafuta will be limited. Henry will be Latofsky will be limited. Mac Markway will be out. Dawson Merritt out. Pierce Mooberry out. Carter Nelson out. Teddy Prohaska out / limited. Keelan Smith out. Evan Taylor out. We got.
You made the hire official today of Pat Stewart. What felt right about that connection and how he can help this organization?
Well, Pat's been a part of five Super Bowl teams, right? He's been part of 3 NFL teams. I've worked with him twice before, which, it's that when I say that, that's not friendship. That's knowing how adaptable and versatile he is. We're moving into a space in personnel where no one really knows what lies ahead. So you just need really smart people. And the concepts, I've always really appreciated the Patriots. If you're in the NFL, there's really 2 grading scales. The Patriots, the Belichick scale being one, which really takes into account, how you value different positions, and that, as they relate to others. Pat's always been really a difference maker, I think, in thinking about that, talking about that. So as we move into this new space in college, where you now have added in both recruiting, retention, and now finance, I think Pat's just another really, really smart person who can help us with that, take our evaluation skills to the next level. I think Keith Williams has done a phenomenal job for us. Keith has, continued to rise in the organization, and really, Pat's weakness will be the recruitment piece. You don't really recruit in the NFL, but Keith, Troy Vincent, Avery Gossett, I think those people have done a fantastic job, and I think Sean Patton's done really a phenomenal job in the 3 years. We've had top 25 classes. We had a top 10 portal class, and this was kind of precipitated by him kind of wanting to move into a different space, wanting really to stay more in player finance, wanting to be more in analytics, and a commitment by us just to kind of look at personnel departments and recruiting departments and try to take it to a whole other level. Which I think you're seeing across the board in college football. So Pat seemed to be the right fit. We're lucky to get him. He left a great job in New England. Very grateful to the people in New England to let him come, and we're excited to have him.
Is he going to handle a lot of the transfer evaluations too? Because he kind of head up a scouting of being able to, evaluate transfers as they go forward.
Yeah, I think he'll oversee. It's kind of like any other coordinator, right? It's the same as like Dana. It's the same as Butler. It's the same as Zach. He'll oversee it. He'll implement, the philosophy. The way we evaluate college players within the portal is going to be different than the way we evaluate high school players. And then the valuation that goes on top of that is completely different. Used to be, hey, we'd love to offer this guy a scholarship. We'd really love to have him. Now it's, hey, at what value financially are we willing to put on him? So, we'll build out the people below him that work with him. As I said, I mentioned some of the people already, Keith and Troy and Avery, and there's some more to be added. But I think he'll oversee that. I think the grading scale and the things that we're looking at, specifically in college players, will come from him, and we'll still stay with the same beliefs we have with high school players in terms of traits and certain things, more developmental.
Is it oversimplifying to say that it's all just moving more to look like an NFL model?
Yeah, I mean, even the rules, it used to be it had to be the 10 countable coaches, and then this year they allowed you to kind of change who went on the road, and there's some proposals out there that, like I remember listening to Notre Dame as they were in the college football playoff, substituting and having some of their recruiting staff out on the road. I think even a couple of their female work employees were out there, which I think is wonderful. And I think, it's opened up a space, much like the NFL. I mean, why? Why do your coaches also have to be the people on the road? They already work enough. And so I think things are moving actually in the right direction. And having people, what Sean has done in terms of building out the databases, and I mean, it's a full-on financial, model. And working with Jonathan Bateman and Haven, you can't be a penny over, right? You can't make a mistake. And so it's a really unique time. So I think, it's moving very much in that direction. And but I don't think the answer is just purely. I didn't hire Pat just because of, hey, he's from the NFL, because it's very different still than the NFL. I just think the thing with Pat is he's just really smart. When I have a question about personnel, I call James Blanchard at Texas Tech, who's one of the kind of the difference makers out there that we hired years ago. I call Pat Stewart. I call these guys. So when Sean kind of indicated, hey, I want to do something a little bit different, we started looking at, hey, who could come in and kind of lead the evaluation part of this, and Pat stuck out.
You get a sense coming out of Matt Rhule's if you feel further along in year 3 than past years, and are there any guys in particular who have stuck out with their voices and how they've led?
Oh yeah, we're certainly further along than we ever have been. Just looking at us physically, right? One of the hard things that we've done is we've taken a lot of young players in the first 2 years, which leads to a sort of a young, physically and mentally immature team at times. Those guys are growing up. So I think you see a team that's bigger, faster, stronger, understands more what needs to be done, takes on things in a much more mature way less distractions. To isolate any one player, I don't know that I could, because I think there's so many doing a great job. In good news, there's not one person that's not doing a good job. There's no one that's sort of in the doghouse per se, as there have been in years past. I think everyone understands what's at stake. And, I think, the guys we brought in the portal, they've been excellent additions. But the great news is they don't stand out so much. It's not like, oh, wow, they're so much better than everybody else we have. I think you see a ton of competition, which is exactly what we want.
Hey, how much have you seen just in the couple of months that Holgorsen, between the Pinstripe Bowl and today, how much has he just sort of taken charge of the culture on that side of the ball and maybe even tweaked things, even though there hasn't been a practice or a game?
I don't necessarily know that he's changed the culture. I think really at the end of the day, our issues offensively when we've had them have just been consistency. And I think I stand on record. I think I haven't said that. Just think sometimes we just did too much and tried to serve too many masters. I think he's kind of come in and just been like, hey, these are the things that we're going to do. And he hasn't changed the terminology. It's still the same offense. It's still the same things that we were doing before. It's just kind of dialed down into what he feels like and the staff feels like we're going to be good at. They do a great job. They meet together. We go out. When we're able to, we do some football stuff when we can. They work on it, evaluate it together. I think the thing with Dana is he's really a unifying force. He works with everyone. Sometimes you think of these guys who, like him, have had a ton of success. And they're kind of like these off on the side, guru all by themselves. But he's just really, I think, does a great job of utilizing his entire offensive staff, bringing it along to the players, and holding the players to a high standard. And the proof will be in the pudding, right? But I like what they're doing, and I think the players are comfortable, kind of in the direction that we're heading.
What can 8 or 9 months with Dana and Dylan do for Dylan that he didn't have the opportunity to get when Dana came in November and they had a game to prepare for?
Well, in general, right? If you go back and look at Dylan's year, as a freshman, I think he did a lot of things that were not a lot of freshmen do. I think he was really up there in terms of passing percentage and all those different things. And then there's things I know as a freshman he would love to improve upon. So he's going into year 2 now. Last year, as a highly recruited freshman, I think at this time you saw him trying to keep his voice quiet and just earn everyone's respect. I think now, he has to step up and lead when able. He's really working on his body composition. He won't be a great quarterback at 240 pounds, right? So getting his body composition to one where he can be fleet of foot, where he can slide nimbly and move within the pocket, where he can convert third downs with his feet. I think that's something that we're all bought into and he has to continue to do. So there's things he needs to work on. But also, just another year in the system, another year of another year of understanding what a Matt Rhule looks like, what an off-season workout looks like, what meetings look like. I think all players make a great jump from year 1 to year 2, and then probably from year 2 to year 3. The thing we're trying to avoid with all of our freshmen is a lot of times guys have some success as a freshman, and then they kind of tail off, and all of a sudden it takes till year 3, and you got to get them back going again. And whether it's Jacory or V9 or Willis or any of those guys who played as a true freshman, making sure that doesn't happen, and Dylan's certainly one we can't allow that to happen with. And so, Dana will, I'm sure, push him in every respect. Glenn does a great job with him on the day-to-day, and I think you just see a lot of consistency on that side of the ball.
What's a guy like Rocco Spindler add to that O-line room and how he can help?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, he's a big, powerful man, right? So I mean, he's another guy out front who can move people, who can accelerate his feet at the line of scrimmage, knock somebody back, slide his feet and pass pro. So it's just another good player, and he's really a great guy. He's a really good person. He fits the culture of that room. Sometimes you bring a guy in from a place that's had a lot of success, and they've got all the answers. And I think the thing that he's done is he's been great about just assimilating into our culture and adding value where he can. I think he'll be one of the the leaders in that room, and there's a bunch of them. I think you see a guy like Justin Evans, who's really with the older guys gone, now it's kind of his time. Some of those guys, Turner, Teddy, Henry, Gunner, they're all hurt, right, coming out of the season. So the guys that you have practicing full time, the Justins, those guys are really trying to accelerate kind of where we are. And I think Rocco's just jumped right in. Great guy to have, be around, very mature, and I'm excited to do some football with him.
I know you said last time you were up here, it's not the time to necessarily slot guys on the O-line, but Evans, does he start at center this spring, or how does that work?
Yeah, I think he's been, we've been rotating both at left guard because he's had success there and at center. We have a lot of guys, that we're excited to see play this spring. Sam Sledge, Jason, Mashake Shock, all those guys. I mean, they're all going to have an opportunity. Grant Bricks, Preston, many more. Tyler Canuck's healthy, coming back from being injured at the end of the year, healthier. So they've all waited their turn, and while there's been some obviously big portal moves. For the most part, when you look at college football, people are building their offensive line still through recruiting, and so it's I think people sometimes expect, I think players expect, well, I'm a big recruit, I'm going to come in right away. And the old model of, as an offensive lineman, basically to come in and redshirt the first year, be a backup the second year, your redshirt freshman year, and hopefully contribute and start as a third-year player. That's the model. That's the model of having a successful team. And so some of those guys are in their third year, they're in their second year. I think they're right on track. So we have brought 2 guys in that are older to help, but we have a bunch of guys we feel good about, and if we can get Turner, Teddy back, that will certainly bolster us as well.
Ran that spring league last year. Do you expect that to return, or with smaller roster sizes, is the format going to change for the spring at all?
Yeah, we won't do that this year. That was for a certain time and place. I think this year we have an older team in many ways, and so practice will look different. So I think that was just kind of something we did last year, really to try to build some competition and really get the guys learning to compete. I think now it's a little bit more about taking our execution, our situational football, and some of those things, and accelerating those.
With the staff additions that were made over the offseason, how important is this spring, Matt, for just the players to build the trust with their coaches and vice versa?
I think anytime you bring new people in, I mean that's college football now, right? There's going to be, hopefully not a ton of staff movement every year, but there's going to be player movement, and so we have to make decisions based upon really production and professionalism, not potential. And that was a big thing for us at the bowl game. We talked a lot about, we're past the point of potential now. Now it's who produces, who's a professional, and earning what you get. So having some guys come in, having obviously Eckler come in with a fresh set of eyes, looking at guys, having Snow there now. with a fresh set of eyes. Addison coming in with a fresh set of eyes. Sometimes maybe you're a guy that you're kind of down the depth chart at your position, and someone comes in and sees something in you that the previous guy didn't see, and so. I think that gives a lot of guys opportunities. Terry and Phil coming in with the defensive line and outside backers. Just again a different group of people. So I think it'll be really really important this spring. And the off season has been really important, and the meetings. At the end of the day, as you have a more talented roster, you really can't waste a day. And I think our roster's the best it's been. I think the guys are developed, and so they have to take advantage of the opportunities they get.
Does the purpose at all? You mentioned having an older team and some changes with the spring, but does and of course not having a spring game. Is there anything else significant that changes about what you're trying to get done in spring? Do you scrimmage as much? What's changing about spring football from your perspective?
Just a spring game. I mean, honestly, we'll still do the same amount of work. Really, we had never really done the spring league before. We did that last year, and again, it just kind of felt like that was a team. We're kind of where we were as a team, and we had 3 quarterbacks. We were all trying to, evaluate, or so there was a lot more moving pieces than back then, or maybe 2. I can't remember at the time, but 2 or 3. We were trying to evaluate everybody. So I think we're just a little more settled in. But yeah, we'll still be. I mean, these are still young players that have to become good players, right? And so I think that's one of the things we're gonna. There's a lot of people talking about just go to OTAs and don't have spring football. I think that would be a complete and total mistake. There's a lot of players here that don't know how to properly tackle at this level, don't know how to block at this level. And I remind our coaches, because several of them have been in the NFL. You coach in the NFL, you train players in college. You're teaching them, you're training them how to do it. And so sometimes you're taking players from other schools who've been trained for a couple of years and training them our way. So there's a lot that needs to be done. So it'll be a good physical, hard-nosed spring, but with the only real difference being just what sort of the outside world sees in that spring game.
Backup quarterbacks, you have about at that particular position, obviously Dylan being the starter. So the guys behind Jalen, is it Marco or Marcos? I'm not sure exactly which it is, and then of course TJ. What are you hoping to see from all 3 of them? They're all kind of at different levels.
Yeah, I mean, I think I couldn't even speak on it now because I haven't seen them at all. They're young players. They're young to our system. What I do know is that when we went to the bowl game, we wanted to make Heinrich to tight end, and I was sort of like, well, if we get stuck at quarterback, if something happens, he can always go play quarterback too. And after about 2 or 3 practices, that wasn't even a thought. I mean, they had so much confidence in Jalen, and Dylan's one of those guys that if the play ever comes in called wrong, he knows it so well he can fix it. And where sometimes some of the other guys are like Ron Burgundy, they're going to say whatever comes up. And Gramstad's a lot like Dylan. You know what I mean? Like those 2 guys. Kind of reminds me like in the NFL when you have like a really good young quarterback and you bring in a veteran backup behind him who's accelerating, like, hey, this is how we study. Not that Jalen's necessarily teaching Dylan what to do, but you can see them, they jive off each other, right? They vibe off each other. And great thing about Jalen is the ball's going to go where it's supposed to go. I mean, he's absolutely a winner. Wanted him to come back. We wanted him to come back. So I feel very confident with him. And then, basically we have 2 freshmen. And so they have to get some reps and show us what they can do. And but I do feel good about what they've shown so far. But I think the spring will be huge for us.
The transfer, I mean, obviously Dana knew something about him, but you had, I'm sure, sign off on bringing him forward.
Yeah, Dana was really, really comfortable. Had a ton of experience, and I trusted that. At the end of the day, there wasn't a lot of college tape, but I trust Dana a ton on those things. And so, even when it came to the, when they talked about the receivers, obviously Dane, there was a lot of production, but Hardley was a little different, but DeKeel stood up for it. And I think at the end of the day, anytime you coach a player and you feel like, hey, this guy's special, then be a fool not to take advantage of insider knowledge. So,
you mentioned Heinrich in his move to tight end. How big of a time is this for him in his development, the moving positions?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt he can do it, right? So, in a day and age where most guys would, don't trust their coaches, coaches aren't trusted as much anymore as they used to be, and a lot of guys would have transferred. To me, this is a true, I'm very appreciative not only of Heinrich, but of his entire family for trusting us in that this would work out. I didn't expect him to play as much in the bowl game as he did. It was just, Dana and those guys, as they put the game plan together, felt like, hey, he's going to be someone that elicits different defensive personnel, which will give us an advantage. And he was physical. He could really run. Sometimes I say things and people look at me like I'm nuts until it's proven. And like I said, he was one of the best athletes I've been around. All of a sudden, he's in the dunk contest, and people are like, "Oh, what a good athlete!" Like he's really a special athlete. I mean, he can run. He is explode. They just had a little. Today was Husker games, so we had like a little competition with all across campus, and then they finalized with a dunk contest. And I mean, he's windmill 360 and all those different things. He didn't win because he didn't. I think he only won the other one because the Nebraska fans voted for him because he's from Nebraska. I told him that too, but anyway, he didn't. But this one, he didn't win this one, but he was really close. And so he's a great athlete who's had to learn the physicality, and I think Sat's done a great job of. I mean, a lot of guys would take a guy like that and just be like, oh, whatever, or take that guy and just we'll have him run routes, but they're teaching him all the blocking, all the protections, and I think he's doing a really great job because he recognizes he's going to have a chance to play at the next level via this position.
Hey, one of the running kind of jokes with fans is, hey, we're winning off-season championships every year. What would you tell them is really different about this offseason that's going to make a difference this year?
I don't have an answer for that. I mean, I think that's part of. I mean, whatever. I've been here for 2 years. I got to do the best we can in the offseason to have success. I try very much not to hype things up. I think sometimes we hype things way up here and then get really disappointed when things like just to me, life's all about like taking little steps. Like. You become. It takes a long time to become an overnight success, and so we've always kind of built towards year 3. So just going to try to get better today and try to build on this team this year and have a good year 3, and after that we'll reassess where we are after year 3, and we'll try to have a good year 4, and just keep doing that until they tell me to leave or I die, one of the two. So.
And I know you commented on your non-conference scheduling philosophy. As you move forward and look at what you see is best for Nebraska in scheduling games out of conference, how do you balance the needs of the program with also the needs and wants of the fans to be able to see good teams out of conference potentially come into Memorial Stadium and play Nebraska in early months of the year?
So I love the fans. So this is going to be taken the wrong way, but the only teams that win are the teams that put the program 100% first. And winning comes first. And so the last 2 national champions came out of the Big Ten, and neither one played a Power 5 opponent. So I completely get it. I completely get it. And it's really hard when there's. And again, I don't get to make these decisions because I would unilaterally make them, and it would be just I got asked a question on a podcast, and if you ask me something, I'm going to answer it usually. So. So if the system changes, and there's been a lot of talk about it changing, right? If the system changes and across college football, we all play 9 conference games, and then the 10th game is a crossover game with the SEC, I'd be the first person to say that'd be great for college football. So I'm not in any way, unless you're at the group of 5 and you're counting on these games to fund your athletic department, right? This will continue to kill those programs, but I'm all for all of that. It's just why you can't complain like, oh man, we get screwed in the scheduling every year, and then say these things like it can't be both. We can't be victims and yet so and then I think the biggest thing everyone has to understand honestly is what I'm seeing from Troy, and I see Troy taking a lot of heat on all sides. Like, this is going to be a financial game. I mean, Trev said it from day one when I got here. He's like, hey, Matt, you should consider this job because we're at the time, the only Big Ten school with no debt. And we're in really good financial shape and all these different things, right? And he was right. He kept saying, hey, revenue sharing is going to come. There's these lawsuits. And I would sit in meetings and people kind of look at Trev like, is he sure? He was 100% right. So everything that Trev said has shown up. So now it's about who has the money to both pay their student athletes through revenue share at the maximum amount and still provide the services for everybody. So there's going to be a lot of schools now that are going to butcher their athletic programs, right? They're going to just say, you know what, like, hey, these are basically club sports. Now they don't get to eat in the training table anymore. I don't want that. I do not want the training table to be like just football and a couple other sports. I love walking in there and seeing the tennis team in there. I like being a part of all those student athletes. And so the Olympic sports, the non-revenue generating sports, I want them to have life skills. I want them to have elite medical care. I want them to have psychological services. I want them to have academic services. If you're paying the players, where does that money come from? Like, where does that money come from? So it's going to come from new concessions deals that are the best thing financially. It's going to come from all that. Now, I'm stupid for even saying this because I'm going to take a bunch of heat for it, but it's just like you can't have everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, we really want to win, but we also want this, but we also want this. It's like, you know what? When I go recruit kids in Florida and Georgia, and they're like, Coach, when are we wearing this uniform and that uniform? At some point, I got to be like, it's kind of hard for me to say, hey, if I do that, people are going to be upset. Do you want the good recruits? We got it. We got to just make a decision here, like where we want to go. And so there's a big financial component to this, and we actually are in better shape than most teams. Like because we don't have the full amount of sports that a lot of Big Ten schools have, but we don't have the 14 or 16 that the SEC has. So I just think there's a lot of really hard decisions, and I think when you get to tough times like this, you need strong leadership, like Troy Dannon. Like obviously Jeff Gold, hopefully me in football, hopefully other coaches to make decisions that need to be done. And if every decision you make is popular, then you're probably not making the right decisions. And so, yeah, I mean, but I completely get it. I completely get that we want all of these things. But like we beat Colorado this year, right? And at the end of the year, how much credit do we get for that win? We didn't get a lot of credit for that win. It was like, well, Colorado played in the Big 12. And so they didn't play the same teams we played. And so, at the end of the day, it's all about how you look at the end of the year. And so, we have to be a better team. And so I'm only focused on us. But when asked, I think we have to be unabashedly, I've said from the very beginning I got here, we have to be unabashed about investing in athletics, and we have to be unabashed about doing the right thing for right now. And that's difficult to do. I appreciate Troy's leadership. I think, I see him, I saw him yesterday, and he can't spend more than 3 minutes with me without having to go take a phone call about something, because these are not trying times. There's a lot being probably thrown at him, but, that's why he came here, because he wanted to be a part of what I think we can be one of the best athletic departments in all sport. And so it's just going to be you have to make some hard decisions that are going to be unpopular for now, but hopefully 10 years from now people will look back and say, wow, that was really bold, that was really smart, that was really innovative. Thank goodness we did that. Those are decisions you have to make.
How do you balance trusting your own sort of program instincts with what you see best practices of Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, Georgia, all those other programs? Like, do you always have like a half an eye on what somebody else is doing to innovate and seeing if you match to that?
In terms of like in certain areas, or
just overall, like is there something that program has that you want, that kind of thing?
Oh yeah, no, that's a great question. I think especially in the time that we're in now, right? Where I was reading, there was a Rick Pitino article the other day about how he had to change his philosophy on the portal from year 1 to year 2, and how they went and studied Houston, and so it made me start thinking so I'm constantly on the phone with people that'll talk to me about hey, what how are you handling this? How are you handling that? Because it's all brand new. Like the time that we're in right now, Sam, with RevShare reminds me of being in Carolina during COVID, where I would do a 4-month schedule. And all of a sudden on Thursday, a new memo would come out, and there'd be brand new rules. And I'd go in and I'd run to the office and I would do a whole new schedule. And then all of a sudden the next Thursday, a new memo would come out, because they were just really trying times. And it was like, all right, you had to just constantly adapt to the things that were thrown in front of you. I think we're going to do RevShare one way, and then all of a sudden it changes or something. There's a new, and it's not even April 7th yet. I don't even know if what all will happen. So I'm always just trying to, stay up to date with both what we think is best, talking to Troy and people like that, but then also talking to people at other places. And at the end of the day, the what are the differences? What are the issues? What are the pain points at each school? Right. So, if you're coaching at Florida, if you're coaching at Miami, recruits are driving to you every single day. If you're at the University of Nebraska, you have to work really hard to get people on campus. So we have different things, right? So it's like they have maybe a different issue. We have our own issue. So just trying to balance schools that are in similar situations. Hey, how are you doing this? How are you doing that? So it's, I think that's the job, right? It's just constantly evolving and figuring out, hey, what's needed for us and what's needed now, while also looking at best practices.
Indianapolis for the combine, obviously. What are your thoughts on just how those guys performed down there, especially Ty with his big day?
Yeah, we were only able to go for one day, and I thought it was really important. We try to go every year. I mean, I don't know the last time we've had 4 guys be at it, but we were proud to have 4 guys at it. Proud to have, I was able to go to the Senior Bowl. I wasn't able to go to East West, which Nash let me know about. Which I apologize to him, but went to the Senior Bowl for a couple hours just to show those guys some love, and then went to the combine. I was really proud of Ty. I walked right in. A lot of the scouts I've known for a long time, just coming through our schools and stuff. And first guy I saw was like, man, Ty crushed his interviews. And Ty's been great, right? Ty talking about how great our facilities, how great Corey and Kristen and Mitch, and how they've gotten him ready. The guy that we came in and met, he had a torn shoulder at the time. He was kind of a 2-gapping nose. To see him out there running a 4.83, to see Thomas out there running so well. And I didn't get to see Thomas because he was in a ton of medical stuff that day. I'm proud of those guys. I'm excited for those guys. Excited for Isaiah. I'm excited for Tommy. I'm excited for. There's a bunch of other guys too, that didn't get invited there, but they'll do really well on their pro days. And so, the investment we've made into player development, food, nutrition, athletic medicine, training. That's paying off when you see guys at the combine. It's also paying off on our own team. When I say improving the roster, I don't just mean going and getting different players. I tell guys that all the time. I'm talking about getting guys to be at the fastest and most explosive they've been in their lives. We've had 2 NFL teams this year try to hire Corey. We've had an NFL team come in and try to hire Mitch. Like, we're hiring the right people. It's keeping them has been the challenge, which we've been able to keep those guys so far, knock on wood. But I think we have some of the best in terms of development. And when we go out there and, Thomas is in the top 2 or 3 athletics at all tight ends, when Isaiah runs a great time, when Ty's runs what he did, and obviously Tommy's still coming back from the injury. But when they see that level of athleticism, hopefully that signals to recruits, hey, if I go there, I'll get developed, and signals to our players, buy into what we're doing. Sometimes players think like, well, I need to go train with this one guy way over here. And what's happening right now is you walk in this facility right now, and Cam Jurgens is in there every day, who's one of the best players in football. He chose to come back and use this facility. Ty's in here right now. Fedoni's in here right now. Bullock, Phelan, you got a bunch of guys that are all in here because this is one of the best facilities in the country and with some of the best people in it. So I go to the combine. I wasn't planning on being on McAfee. Like someone grabbed me and said, "Hey, Pat wants you on," which I think is always good for the program. But more importantly, I think it's good for us to talk to the scouts, talk to the people there, and advocate for our guys because I want them to get the benefit of the doubt.
You routinely have had solid defensive lines. What is your overview of that group as you move on without Ty and Nash as you head into spring ball?
I think as we've gone back and watched the tape from this past year, especially with Butler now in a coordinator's role and with Snow coming in, even before Terry got here, I don't think any of us really appreciated how dominant Ty was. I mean, he single-handedly was like a cheat code. I don't think any of us appreciated how good Nash was, how good MJ was. And so, there's big shoes to fill. But I think Cam Lenhart's ready, and I think Riley Van Poppel's ready, and I think Elijah Judy's ready, and Keona Davis, and Willis McGahee, and all those guys. I think those guys are all ready. They've been in the system. We got guys that came in behind them, younger guys. We got some guys in the portal. So we have 2 freshmen that aren't here yet that we're excited about. So I think the defensive line will play at a really high level. Will they play at the level that Ty did? I mean, that's a lofty goal, and we'll chase that. I'm really excited about Terry Braden. Terry's another guy. I mean, he was raised by and trained by the same people that I was trained by as a D-line coach, and so he believes, when he's using his words in the interview, I'm kind of laughing. I'm like, all right, this is exactly who I want. Some of the people I trust most in this world, Andy Reid, Mark DeLeon, they all said, Joe Cullen, they said to hire him. Dave Merritt, they all said to hire him. And, he's another guy. He got offered a position coach job in the NFL and he didn't even tell me, didn't even leverage me for anything. I mean, he's just a really special person. He did his press conference the other day. I was like watching the new coach's press conferences. When you guys would say something, he'd say, hey Sam, how you doing? Like, that's who he is. Like, that's not like, he's like that every day. So he's 100 miles an hour. I think he's going to be really valuable to us. And then getting Phil Simpson back, to me was really, really important. I mean, those edge players, they have to play with such a tenacity and a physicality and an effort. And Phil's going to demand that. And I think, when Phil was here the first time, I did not want him to leave. I worked hard to try to keep him. I couldn't keep him at the time. I was able to now give him a job that he could get his whole family here, and really excited to have him and Maria and their whole family here. So I think we really got the right guys up front to play good defense.
You brought up Perry. With Mike Eckler, what got you to connect with him, and what qualities did he bring to the table that made you know he was the guy for special teams?
Yeah, I think when I started hearing, honestly, all the local media and former players saying to hire him, my natural instinct was don't hire him. To be quite honest with you, I'm being completely honest. It's just at the end of the day, I don't love celebrity coaches. I just like a bunch of guys who like to work. I brought Eck in to interview with him though, because of what he's done, and I couldn't get him out of my brain. I just loved the way he did everything. I kept hearing stories about he's running down the 80, and he's he got arrested running down I-80, and I'm sitting there in my line oh, do I want to take that on? It seems like a lot. But the way he teaches in his meetings. I for years, I talk a lot about the Socratic method in teaching and getting players to respond and answer, and a lot of coaches just talk, and he's one of the best teachers I've been around. In fact, in the interview, I was like, Coach, I can't keep doing this, because he kept making me answer him. I was like, Coach, I can't do this, man. I got ADD. I'm tired. But I've enjoyed having him here so far. You know what I mean? And I think at the end of the day, the stats he's had at Tennessee speak for themselves, right? And but I have to go back again. I just love the way he teaches. I love the way he does it, right? So I've enjoyed having him here. I think he's gonna. People will talk a lot about his energy and all that stuff. I just don't think it's that though. I want to make it's the way that he teaches. It's his system. It's. You could take that. You could take the way he's doing it, and you could take it out to seventh grade football. My dad coached seventh grade football for years, and I think those are some of the best teachers in the world. And the way he does it, the repetition, the commands, the way the guys answer back to him, I think those players would do his technique at a really high level. And he's an excellent recruiter. He's an excellent evaluator. I think he's going to help us in that area as well. So I'm fired up to have him. So, you guys that said to hire him, you guys were right, and I was wrong. I want to make sure I give him his due, and I think since he's been here, it's just a ton of energy in the building. I'm a Northeastern guy. When he says to me, hey, Matt, how you doing today? I say, I'm good. He's like, we don't say good, we say great. And I'm like, heck, I'm from New York. I'm good. but I think that's going to be good for our guys. I think he's, and what I like about him is he's an evaluator. We talk a lot about recruiters. The key is evaluation. And, him and Snow are two old school evaluators as they come in and see our players and, see guys like Bryce Turner. Bryce Turner's now 210 pounds. He was a 10-2 kid in high school, right? He's now up to 210 pounds, still running close to 22 miles an hour. And, a lot of guys, well, what is he? Eckler sees him and says, hey, I can use him like this, or I can use this guy like that. So that's really what I want. I want guys who find the players that we have and don't find what they can't do, but find what they can do. I want really, that to me is positive coaching. So I think he's been a great addition. And we're only getting started, but already I can feel it. Like we're starting right now at 6 o'clock in the morning. We're starting with a special teams meeting every day, 10 minutes, because him at 6 o'clock is like like a vitamin E. You know what I'm saying? He's got a lot of energy and a lot of juice, and I think it'll be really good. And I need guys that would offset me, because if I walk in at 6 o'clock in the morning, it's going to be kind of fire and brimstone. And he's a ton of energy. So excited to see what he does, and excited to see the things that he brings. And I love what he said in his press conference. He came for all that. He came for the challenge. And I think Brett Maher will continue to help us at a high level, and we'll do whatever it takes to be the best team on special teams in the Big Ten.
Good.
Well,
Thanks.